A lot of users at the moment hesitate between the new Mavic 3 Pro and the Mini 2, and for good reasons. They are the entry models of the current DJI line, and the only two below the critical threshold of 250 grams. But they also differ a lot, especially in terms of features. In this video I will analyze them in terms of video quality and capability to help make an informed decision. The Mini 2 was released in November 2020. At the time it was a considerable effort to squeeze a drone below 250 grams, therefore these models are very limited functionalities. It only offers quick shot and the basic panorama mode. It also lacks obstacle sensor and any sort of tracking capabilities. The price of the Mini 2 is at the moment €470. Being the cheapest model of the DJI line offering 4K video, the Mini 3 is often considered the drone for beginners. Although the lack of obstacle avoidance sensor asks for a lot of attention by inexperienced users. On the other hand, the Mini 3 is a powerhouse with basically the same features as the excellent Air 2S, plus the vertical video and photo mode, which can be a huge selling point for users who are into social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok and YouTube Shorts. Compared to the Mini 2, the Mini 3 Pro offers tridirectional obstacle sensors at the front, back and bottom, tracking capabilities, the excellent intelligent flight modes grouped under the name of Focus Track, Spotlight, Active Track and Point of Interest, Master Shot and Hyperlapses. The Mini 3 Pro is much more expensive at €830, but it is in a different league in terms of video functionalities. The Mini 2 has a tiny sensor of 1/2.3 inches, in more understandable terms 0.43. Way too small for today's standards. And this is not a good omen for dynamic range and low light footage. It has a fixed aperture of f2.8, a field of view equivalent to 24mm, and a video resolution of 4K at a frequency of up to 30 frames per second. There is only one color mode, normal. The Mini 3 Pro has a much bigger sensor of 0.77 inches. An extremely wide fixed aperture of f1.7, a field of view of 24mm, and a video resolution of 4K with a frequency of up to 60 frames per second, which is useful for slow motion. Besides normal, there is also a flat color profile, Cinelike, more suitable for serious post-processing. Let's start with some shots with the camera tilted down. The sky is not on the frame, therefore the dynamic range is extremely low and we can concentrate on detail and color rendition. In this scene of a garden, both clips have good details and pleasant colors. At times in the vegetation, I think I can spot a touch of extra detail in the Mini 3. But it is very difficult to tell them apart. In this other scene, I can definitely detect more detail for the Mini 3, especially in the darker part of the vegetation. I also prefer the colors of the 3 Pro in this one. The Mini 3 Pro is an excellent drone that does a lot of things very well. I only have a couple of issues, and this is fine, as we are still in a very early stage of development. DJI is very good at listening to feedback from users, and is already at work fixing them. One of the issues is with very dark shadows in video, at least in the 2 units I've tried. It is something I've already discussed in another video. Some users agree with the crash shadows, while others affirm that the footage works perfectly well for them. It seems to happen only in some batches. As you can see in this scene, if I expose correctly for the sky, the shadows are extremely dark. It is not at all a high dynamic range situation, as the sun is almost behind. I had never seen shadows so dark in any other drone or camera. The same scene taken at the same time works much better in vertical video, and even better in a photo. No issues either in master shot or in quick shots. So the culprit is not the camera, the lens or the sensor, but something in the software. In post-processing, in most cases I am able to recover the shadows by using masks to affect only the elements on the ground and leaving the sky as it is. With the first version of the firmware, the shadows were completely crashed, but after a number of updates, things have considerably improved. It is still a work in progress, but we are getting there. Let's start with some images containing the sky. The light is far from ideal. We are in summer in Sicily, and I would never do any serious shooting from May to September here. There is plenty of dampness in the air, and it is hard to tell even the difference between the sea and the sky. But this is actually good for comparisons, because in a bad light it's easier to spot the difference in quality between two models. All clips have been taken one right after the other, at about 3 minutes of difference. Obviously, exposure and white balance are manual. The value for white balance is 5500 for both models. When the Mini 2 was released, I was pleasantly surprised by the video quality in easy light, with more detail compared to previous model of the Mavic line, due to a new video processor introduced with the first iteration of the Mini. The little fellow performs still decently in easy light condition. Certainly in the last couple of years the technology have moved very fast, and we are used to much higher standards in drone footage. But for users getting their feet wet, it can still be considered acceptable. The Mini 3 is obviously in a totally different dimension. After some post-processing and shadow lifting, the detail is excellent and the colors very rich. Let's put a few images face to face. The Mini 3 has a second color profile, a flatter one, the Cinelike. A flatter profile should perform better in high dynamic range situations and should be able to stand much heavier post-processing. It is therefore especially useful to adapt footage to the color scheme and to the mood of a specific project. In the first version of the firmware I was not at all impressed, but this Cinelike has been constantly improved in a long series of updates. It started as a 8-bit mode, then it was turned into a sort of 10-bit, and it is now gradually moving towards a true good quality 10-bit mode. This Cinelike and the vertical shooting mode give a huge amount of flexibility for video with the Mavic 3 Pro. With the first version of the firmware, night footage with Mini 3 was an absolute disaster, at least with my unit. But things have constantly improved since, and now low-light footage is very good. There is maybe just some extra tweaking needed to increase the detail in the shadows and to reduce a bit of noise that shows up on certain occasions. The very wide aperture starts to pay dividends, and now the Mini 3 finally lives up to its name, Pro. As for the Mini 2, low light has never been its department, with its extremely tiny sensor, and watching night footage shot with the Mini 2 now is a bit embarrassing. I expect DJI to either drop the price of the Mini 2 considerably, or even better, to replace it soon with a more up-to-date model. Even for an entry model, DJI can and should offer something better in 2023. Click on this link to watch my video about photography of the Mini 3 Pro. And don't forget to hit the like button if you find this video interesting. Thank you.